I'm meteorologist Melissa Noor. This is an update Saturday midday on Tropical Storm Ian and what else is happening in the tropics. Let me show you the latest on Ian. This is the 11 o'clock advisory that came in. Winds are still 65 miles per hour with gusts to, 45 miles per hour with gusts to 60, moving west at 15. Hurricane hunters did investigate it this morning, and they have more missions, several more missions scheduled throughout the day today. So they'll keep an eye on what the pressure's doing, where the center of low pressure is, and the winds that are happening inside the storm. But right now, still a little bit of shear on the eastern side of it. Otherwise, though, it is looking slightly more healthy on satellite than what it was looking like first thing this morning. But there's still the same tropical storm watch for Jamaica and hurricane watch for the Cayman Islands that are in effect. Winds are 45 miles per hour, gusts to 60, moving west at 15. Let me show you the spaghetti models because this really tells a story. The models are pretty closely clustered over the next couple of days, but by the time we get in towards landfall time for a middle of the week, Wednesday or even Thursday, there's a pretty big spread and a large amount of uncertainty for the storm of where it's going to make landfall. You notice there's some models that take it all the way as west as the Emerald Coast. Some models bring it in towards the Big Bend, and even some models that try to take it south of Tampa for that actual landfall location. These models are predicting where the center, that's what this graphic is showing you, where they think the center of the storm will end up going. But ultimately, there are effects from major hurricanes that are felt hundreds of miles outside the center, right? Hurricanes can be really big, large systems. They are not all very small and compact. There's only been a few that have been small and compact, but this is a big model spread, okay? So what you really need to take away from this is, if you're anywhere along the Gulf Coast of Florida, you need to be watching this very closely in the coming days, because whoever is in the path of that landfall, the impacts are going to be significant. There will be big destruction, but we don't know exactly where that landfall is going to be. It is Saturday. Landfall may not be until Wednesday or even Thursday. Some of the models have it slowing down a lot more. So a lot of uncertainty still with the models, and the reason why is they're trying to get a handle on exactly this trough of low pressure, this dip in the jet stream, so to speak. We have a front coming through North Georgia tomorrow, and behind it a dip in the jet stream. And models are trying to figure out how deep is that dip in the jet stream, what's the orientation of it, et cetera, because that will help to steer Ian in one way or the other. Tropical systems do not have their own steering wheels. They don't know where to go and can't maneuver themselves like a cold front does. They get steered by larger scale features in the atmosphere. So there's the opportunity for this storm to either move in towards Florida or western Florida, even towards the Panhandle. We just don't know yet. And here's an example. This is the European and American models from Saturday morning. See how they are originally closely, clustered. This is showing you where they think the center of the storm is going to go. These are the lines of pressure. We call this MSLP. But notice already by Tuesday morning, a little bit of a spread as it's passing over Cuba, and then a bigger spread beyond that. The Europeans still trying to take this in towards southwest Florida. Meanwhile, the American model is trying to bring this up towards Apalachicola. So there's a huge spread in models still on this Saturday, and that's what I think is concerning, because some people over the weekend may just think, okay, well, I saw the track on Friday, I know what to expect, I'm not going to be impacted. But there's still a lot of uncertainty with where this will go. Here's the official cone of uncertainty from the National Hurricane Center. This is the 11 o'clock advisory this morning. That landfall is a major hurricane. Will likely be, really anywhere on the west coast of Florida, so we don't really know. I know you see this line down the center of that cone, but the line doesn't mean that that's where the storm's going to be. It can be anywhere within that cone of uncertainty, and that's just the center of the storm. Impacts can be felt well outside of it. So the main takeaways are, this will have everything in its toolbox to become a major hurricane. But where that landfall is, that's still very much uncertain. So there are going to be significant impacts, but we don't know where those will be. For North Georgia itself, could we see impacts? It's really too early to say. Depending on where it makes landfall, we could either end up with some rain and some gusty winds, or we could see nothing at all but some added cloud cover. It's really too early to say, and not just where landfall is, but what happens with the storm after landfall. So that's really what I want you to take away from it, is even though landfall's not until middle of next week, we have to pay very close attention. And for North Georgia, we just don't know if we're going to see any impacts or not. Here's the big picture. There's Ian down in the Caribbean. We also have 3 other named storms out in the Atlantic. Fiona has battered the Canadian Maritimes early Saturday and last night. That'll keep moving northward. It's post-tropical, not a tropical system anymore. And we still have Gaston pulling away from the Azores, and then Hermine, which is off the coast of Africa. One other area with a low chance of development. Doesn't look like it'll develop, but if it were to develop, the next name on the list is Julia.